I said no, hey, yeah. Hey, hey, yeah. I said no, hey.
All right. Hi, my name is Matt Gressick, and
And I'm Eric
welcome.
Ebersol. Good morning.
Yeah, welcome to another edition of Brick and Mortar, exciting one. We're talking about the importance of education support professionals today, its vital role in schools. Our special guest is Ivory Smith. Ivory has a wonderful bio, like a lot of credentials. He's been educator support professional with Worcester County Public School System for 13 years, elected to the MSEA Board of Directors, member of the MSEA ESP Organizing Committee, the MSEA Budget Committee. He's also a graduate of the Emerging Leaders Program, member of
Ooh-wee.
the Minority
Ivory.
Affairs
My
Committee.
God, man. That's
I mean,
awesome.
he's got like so much like credentials here. It's like just overwhelming and great. I'm going to tell a story later about how great person he is. He's a member of the Worcester County NAACP. He was president, sorry, of the Worcester County NAACP for the past 10 years. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce
Well,
my friend, Ivory Smith.
before we get to this too, it's important to point out, if you're listening from outside the state of Maryland, that Matt, having done some teaching on Eastern Shore, me having lived my whole life, and Ivory too, Worcester, okay, not Worcester or Worcester or anything like that. Worcester. All right, let's get it right. All right, and we're spot on with that one. Ivory, it's great to have you on. Tell us a little bit about who you see yourself as, and why did you choose to put yourself into the education milieu?
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Eric, for allowing me to just to share a little bit about the work of the education support professionals. Um, I kind of got into this uh, work here as education support professional. I used to work in the municipal government for the state of Delaware, and in 2008, when everything kind of went down. I was the last hired, so I was the first one to be let go. So I applied for the prior to me being let go. I applied for the school system as a support staff. Had an interview, didn't get the position. About 2 weeks later, I got a call from a principal, said there was another position coming up. And I said, great, because I just got laid off from my job about a week before. I said, good. I said, you need me to come in and do an interview? And he said, no, just show up to work on September. Just show up to work
Because
on
I'm sure you're qualified, but it also speaks to the fact that we ESPs are in demand. We need them in schools very badly, and
yeah.
sometimes.
So I showed up on I think it was September 9th, I believe. I showed up and I've been there ever since. And I love it. I love doing the work. I love working with kids. Even though I don't directly work with them, but since COVID, a lot of things have changed. So I was working kind of directly with kids, and I just love what I'm doing, and just love to see the kids grow each year. Even though I'm at the elementary school, you start off with them in pre-K or pre-K three now, and you watch them grow up into the fourth grade. So you watch them for almost 5 years as they grow and as they mature.
Yeah.
And once they leave the elementary school, they go to the junior high and then the middle school. Then the high school. Once they get into high school, I kind of think that's when they kind of start to find themselves, who they really want to be as they getting older. So, and just watching them grow up, and then they'll come back, and I'm like, wow, I remember when you was yay high. Now look, you're towering over me.
So, like most educators, it's about kids and watching them grow and be who they are, and that's great. Real quick, education support personnel can mean any one of a number of jobs. Can you tell us what it is you do in the school?
Well, I'm a custodian. I'm a custodian too. So I call ourselves the first responders because
I love that.
because
That's great.
we're the first ones to school every morning, and we're the last one to leave school every day.
Yeah.
So I'm in that category as a first responder.
That's a critical point, because people think education support personnel, they often go to paraeducators or paraprofessionals, but there are a number of people in the building who, as you point out, are first responders, keep us moving, front office personnel, people who work in the cafeteria. There's people all over the building that are keeping the building going. And so
true.
you count, man. You're part of that. You're part of that workforce that we need so bad. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going to our next question. I actually have a great story about Ivory as well, being a great friend in need. What's your most difficult, challenging, funniest, or most rewarding moment in education? In other words, this is just whatever event sticks out in your memory the most that you think embodies your contribution to education of kids.
Well, just being, a custodian. Sometimes they'll come in, they'll talk to you, or you'll see them in the bathroom, messing around. Look, hey, get yourself together and get out of here. Go back to class. But I think probably I got a lot of stories after 13 years. So Matt, you got me thinking now. I probably one of the funniest things that I can kind of recall is during COVID when the kids was eating lunch in the classroom and the kids was talking about politics. I'm like, what? You guys are only in the second grade and they're talking about politics. I'm like, huh. So I'm just listening. So I kind of thought that was kind of amazing, that they're at that age, they're talking about that. So I'm listening and listening. And then it was part of a conversation. I'm like, are they talking about me? In their own ways, they were talking about me in their kiddie way. I'm like, oh yeah, you are talking about me. So I thought that was very funny. I think the most gratitude part of the job was I had the students tell me, Mr. Smith, you're the best custodian or you're the best lunch worker, that we have. When I walk into the classrooms, I mean, they're like, yay, and clapping and stuff like that. I'm like, are y'all setting me up or you're glad to see me? But things like that in their own way, or I have some kids, come to me, hey, Mr. Smith, how are you? Or give you a little cupcake or something on their birthdays. Those are things that makes me feel good that I that they love me for something besides.
That's awesome.
And
that's
that
really
tells how you become part of the fabric of the school. It's one of the reasons that the union was called the Maryland State Teachers Association for so long, and now it's called the Maryland State Educators Association, because everybody in the building, right, is an educator. You clearly have an attitude. The kids know you care, and those stories tell us that they light up to you. But that's outstanding.
Well, and he was my hero at one point. I was getting ready to go to the White House for a special event to see Elton John, and I thought I packed the right suit, and I packed the complete wrong suit. It was a funeral suit to go, and I desperately, this was when we were just getting
Elton's old, Matt, but I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, exactly. and so I desperately said, like, text Ivory and said, do you happen to have a spare blazer? And this great powder blue blazer that fit like a glove, and wore it to the event. And I mean, he was it was crazy because he came to my rescue at that moment. And it was awesome. And it speaks to what a great person Ivory is. Next question we're going to get to is how, and you kind of addressed this a little bit, but I'd like you to go in a little bit more detail about how, other roles in ESPs help in the education of kids as well, not like paraeducators, and we also have secretaries and custodial staff and bus drivers and stuff like that. If you could elaborate on that'd be great for helping us understand and helping our audience understand what education support professionals fit into this mosaic of schooling.
Right. Sure. I guess, if we can kind of sit here and visualize, coming up to your school and you walk into school, you see this clean building, you look at the floor, see this nice shiny floor, but you look to your right or to your left, however your school setup is, you see that secretary or that bookkeeper right there. Those are the first people that you encounter before you even go any further than the classroom. You encounter that support professional, which is good. Then you go a little further, you got your librarian and all that. Everybody plays a major role in our students' education every day. even though the teacher is teaching the kid, you got that support professional is also helping that kid. Especially just think little Johnny or Susie, is disruptive in the class. Well, you have that education support professional right there to take either Johnny or Susie out and give them that one-on-one that they really that they really need. So you got that person there. Just think Johnny or Susie is a little hungry, and that might be their only meal that they may get that day is that breakfast and that lunch. So
Yeah.
you got, Miss Janice in there. She's gonna get a little Johnny or Susie, that extra burger, extra fries, or whatever that lunch may be. So once again, we're still helping out with that kid, that student that day to learn a little bit more that afternoon because they have that meal in their body. But of course, it all starts off with Mr. John, the bus driver, getting our
Yeah.
students there safe
Yep.
safe every
Yep.
day and getting them home safe every night. So once again, those are 4 positions that I said that was very crucial to our students' education. But you don't forget about Miss Nancy, the nurse, because when Johnny's got that little boo-boo and he's crying, and that nurse is there is giving him that motherly love to make him feel better.
That's just beautifully put. I mean, you hit like so many different aspects of kids' days, that those little touches that go so far to making their journey like just welcoming and embracing and making them feel safe. And I would encourage anybody who's listening to this, if they're not involved in the schools and they would like to consider becoming an educator support professional.
Because you can get to know kids
Yeah.
the same way that anybody else in the building does, and actually become, a part of their educational process. And like you talked about the cafeteria worker who's slides a little extra food, that would only be because that person got connected with that kid and understood that they had challenges in being fully fed coming to school.
Mhm.
And I think that speaks to the sort of dedication and care that ESPs can have, and often I'm sure do, pretty much always, I think. So good. That's great. It's great to hear.
And a little shout out to Monroe Graham. I had a middle school student pass my trailer at one point, my learning annex. And for some reason they were joking around and they threw a shoe on top of it, one of his shoes. And so he only had one shoe to walk to middle school with, and he couldn't do that. And so I had him come into the high school and he talked to Monroe Graham, our head custodial staff, and he got the big broom that he used to clean the lights and he got it down for the kid. And he was like a superhero to me and this student. And it was like, you don't think of these crazy.
Well, when you talk about
moments.
available to learn, you think about kids being properly fed and having a good night's sleep before they come to school. You don't think maybe they need a shoe.
Yeah.
But that kid's day would have not gone well. And there it is. So
just visualize that student throwing their retainer in the trash can with food on top.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. All right,
and you got to dig in there and get that retainer out, so they can stop crying, so their parents won't be mad with them. So
there you go.
We're all superheroes in one way or another.
Oh wait, Matt. Hey, we have a phone call, man.
Oh man, a phone call.
It's amazing because sometimes are we live? Because how do these people know to call us? I don't get this. Hold on, let me pick it up. Hello, caller. How are you?
Hi, my name is Akbi Khan. Hi, Eric and Matt.
Wait. Say your name again, please.
Akbi, Akbikhan.
I know somebody named Akbi. Do you know somebody named Akbi, Matt?
Crazy.
It's not. I know. I don't know that there are that many Akbis in my sphere. Well, no, yeah. but it can't be the same. I don't know. Anyway, look, our callers have remarkably familiar names to us. I don't quite get it, but anyway, go ahead. Akbi, you obviously called because you have a question. Go ahead and can you ask one, please?
So I've heard we'll talk about the Education Support Personnel Bill of Rights. What is the ESP Bill of Rights, and why do you think it's needed?
All right, Ivory, before you answer that question, here we go. We have a streak of callers that call with just the most on-point questions. Matt, is that a great question or what, man?
awesome question about ESP Bill of Rights.
All right. So Ivory, talk to us about the ESP Bill of Rights so that our caller and, of course, now listeners can hear about it.
Well, that's a great question. And I am delighted to be able to talk just a little bit about the ESP Bill of Rights. The ESP Bill of Rights is a campaign that the Maryland, which we had got from Massachusetts. And what it is what everybody wants. They want a livable wage. They want a decent retirement. They want great health insurance. They want job security. They want job advancement more than anything, but we want the respect. And this bill, this campaign here will help to deliver that to the employee, especially education support professionals here in Maryland. So that's what that is. This is a campaign that we've been working on probably about 2 years now. Actually really started last year. And we did 13 listening sessions, either listening or in person throughout the state of Maryland, and listening to the education support professionals and what they had, their concerns was about this bill here, campaign that we're doing. And then we brought it forward to our RA in October in Ocean City, and it was endorsed by the state superintendent, Mr. Chowdhury. So he's on board with this. We got this endorsed by majority of the locals, either support staff only or a combined teachers and support staff. So it's been endorsed overwhelmingly. Now we're working on how can we get our local school boards, our local county commissioners, other private civic groups to sign on to this campaign so we can push this bill here throughout the state of Maryland. We had the opportunity to present this at the ESP conference in Washington State back in March. And it was received overwhelmingly by different states on the East Coast and Midwest, Jersey. I mean, it's been receptive. So I feel that we are the pilot program for this, even though some has been established. But I think we are the pilot program for this year. I want to if I can, give a quick shout out to Sean McKillop, Stacy Kamen, and Mr. Sam Walters, Mr. Will Johnson, Mr. Denona Boston, Miss Cindy Pulper, Miss Cindy Porter. These are the individuals that is on the MSEA ESP organizing committee. And we've been working hard trying to get this through. So this is what this is.
Now, I'm sorry. I'm just amazed that a caller would know that was, our callers are obviously a very intelligent group. One of the things I want to point out is that this kind of motion is not only good for the individual ESPs, it's good for education, because having a consistent and well paid and well treated core of ESPs will really create a much more stable school environment. We had trouble because ESPs would often leave because there were greener pastures, and I think this benefits everybody. It's a win-win if we can get this done.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know some of the EAs that have retired over the bridge that has moved over to the Eastern Shore, and they come back and they want to be a support professional. They don't want all the, day-to-day teachers deal with, but they just want to be that support professional, just have a little extra cash. But a lot of times the education support professionals retire, but they still got to come back to work because they don't have enough money in their retirement because they're not making enough money to put into their retirement. So that's, a campaign that we're trying to just get a living wage.
Well, Akbi, thank you so much for calling in with that question and highlighting this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. So now, I think we may have sort of covered this in some ways, but I'd like to ask you, because it's good to know, what's the biggest misconception people have, people who are outside the school building about what ESPs are or about what happens day to day with ESPs. Some of this you've already covered, but if there's something else you'd like to add, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I guess I would say I don't think some people know what ESPs are. They hear the word ESPs, they think like, oh, it's psychic,
Maybe you are. Maybe you are a little bit,
No, we're education support professionals, as I say, we're what's that guy's name? Do the dirty jobs. I can't think of his name.
Oh yeah. The dirtiest jobs,
Rome?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's who we are. We do the dirtiest job. You find some of our education assistants, dealing with special needs kids. You gotta have a real knack to work with special needs. You gotta love kids to work with special needs, no matter what it is. And I see it, on a daily, the love and care that these education assistants give to these kids. A lot of sometimes, you find some of those kids, that take advantage of the support professionals. A lot of them, get hurt, but they still come back the next day. Still put up with it. With what's going on, you find a lot of those secretaries get cursed out by parents. Because they want to
front line for sure. So so just who they are and how important they are in the building, and that's great. All right, Matt. Last question.
Last question. We always love this question.
Fun here, right?
What would you consider to be a great mascot, replacement mascot for a school that you worked at or attended? Anything you want, or like your favorite sports team. Tell us about, if you were king for a day, how would you alter the world for your mascot?
Wow. That's now you got me thinking now, Matt. Everything.
Well, it can be fun. Matt and I both taught at Reservoir High School, and they're the Reservoir Gators, but we always thought they should be the Reservoir Dogs. Okay. Straight out of the movie.
Well, the school that I work at now is the Ocean City Elementary Dolphins. And as we look at Dolphins, first thing come to my mind is Flipper. Because everybody loved Flipper. He was always there. He would always make the kids happy, what it may be. So that was Flipper. But I went to Stephen Decatur High School, and our mascot is the Seahawks. And I think our mascot should have been the Hawks, because during my tenure at school, we probably had the best sports team around, at least here in the Worcester County, Wacomico County area. So I think the Hawks would be, because we would swoop down on them, and just give them their business, and then we would just let them go.
Genuine hawks instead of
yeah.
Land-based predatory hawks. Nice job, really.
Well, thank you so much, Ivory. You've been a wonderful guest. Not only are you with the MSEA, I should have highlighted also your National Education Association director. You're a part of the budget committee appointed by President Pringle. Just an awesome person, making students' lives better in the classroom. We thank you for your presence here.
Thank you very much for your time. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay, listeners, we will be back in a couple weeks with another episode. I hope you've enjoyed this one. We take people who are inside of brick and mortar as much as possible and hear about their experiences. I think Ivory's been a great guest, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care.